新聞でも通りました。
大丈夫かな。はい。記者の方、記者の方、はい。
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow journalists, welcome to the Foreign Correspondents Club of Japan. I'm Dan Sloan, I'm president of this organization. Our guest today, Israeli Ambassador to Japan, Gilad Cohen, joins us as hostage and prisoner exchanges continue in the first phase of what remains a fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. 2 Israeli and 5 Thai hostages were freed on Thursday in southern Gaza amid swarming crowds, which prompted calls from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu about risks to their safety, as well as the International Red Cross. An 8th Israeli hostage, Agam Berger, was freed separately in northern Gaza. More than 100 Palestinian prisoners were also freed and arrived in Ramallah by bus and met by a huge crowd. According to the Associated Press, Israelis rejoiced as images of these freed hostages reuniting with families were shown live on television there. More releases are planned, and it's hoped the 6-week truce will lead to a sustained halt in fighting, further hostage and prisoner exchanges, and some 650,000 displaced returning to northern Gaza after 15 months of war. The latest releases mean that 15 hostages held by Hamas have been freed since the ceasefire began on January 19th, while 82, we estimate, are still being held. Release of the remaining hostages, along with an end to the war, will be negotiated in a second phase. Hamas took some 250 hostages during its October 2023 attack on Israel, when some 1,200 people were killed, according to Israel tallies. At that time, or shortly thereafter, our guest today spoke. This is his 3rd appearance here. The subsequent military response by Israel has resulted in the deaths of more than 47,000 Palestinians, according to the Gaza Health Ministry. A separate ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah in southern Lebanon is now underway, which gives both sides 60 days to remove forces from the area and allow the Lebanese army to move in. What are the next steps for this delicate peace process, and what role might Japan play? We are honored to welcome Ambassador Cohen to offer Israel's view. We will hold a separate press conference at 2:30 with Palestinian Ambassador Walid Sayem. With no further ado, we will have opening remarks and a presentation by the ambassador before going in Q&A about 20 minutes or so. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you very much for having me. I came here to speak about the ceasefire and about the future insecurity in the region. But before I go into the details, and of course I'll be very happy to answer your questions, I want to show you some presentation. It has some disturbing images, so I warn you in advance, about October 7 massacre, because about killing innocent people, dragging them from their beds, raping, kidnapping, torturing people, burning children alive. I'm saying it because there are people also here in Japan that start to say some things about maybe denial of what happened, or maybe to put a question mark about what happened in October 7. So let's have the first presentation, please. That's October 7.
That's what you mean?
What?
I don't know what.
طيب شو مسوين خاين؟
Murdered.
I do want to make this to make this point again. I want to remind that Hamas killed a whole family. He kidnapped Bibas family, 2 parents, 1 mother and 2 children. Kfir Bibas, 1-year-old, and Ariel Bibas, 4 years old. They are being held 15 months now, and we don't know their whereabouts. זה סרטון? This is, you can see the video that they were kidnapped. Some in Tokyo deny that there were killing of innocent people. I want to show you Kafishter family, 4 people, a child 8 years old and a child 5 years old, all killed by terrorists, by Hamas terrorists. The Kedem Simantov family, they were killed in Nir Oz, all of them. 2 twin daughters, 5.5 years old, and Arbel, 2 years old, Omer. I want to make this, this is important for me to say, because the denial of what happened on October 7, it's exactly like the denial of the Holocaust. And I cannot accept this. People try to deny here in Japan, even here in Tokyo, the use of sexual violence. I have the report of, and I distributed to you also, written by the special envoy of the Secretary General to check, to examine sexual violence, who is it's saying exactly the brutality in sexual violence on October 7, and you can listen to her. If you don't have it, please look at it, because there are people that are denying
In
it.
terms of findings on sexual violence, we found clear and convincing information that sexual violence, including rape, sexualized torture, and cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment have been committed against hostages, and we have reasonable grounds to believe that such violence may still be ongoing against those in captivities. We found that there are reasonable grounds to believe that conflict-related sexual violence, including rape and gang rape, occurred in at least 3 locations, namely the Nova Music Festival site and its surroundings, Road 232, and Kibbutz Reim. In most of these incidents, victims were first subjected to rape, then killed. In addition to these specific locations, we also found across multiple locations of the Gaza periphery a pattern of victims, mostly women, found fully or partially naked from the waist down, with their hands tied behind their back and or tied to structures such as trees and poles, and shot. In terms of
Kidnapping citizens, babies, children, Holocaust survivors, women, it's against every international norm, every legitimate understanding. Yesterday, you said then that there was one of the hostages was released, Gadi Moses. He's 81 years old. He's a grandfather of 10 grandchildren. Who does this kind of thing to kidnap 80 years old men, keeping him in tunnels for 15 months? People are saying, some of them, that the Israeli hostages are kept in a very good conditions, humanitarian conditions. So let me tell you something about it. No Red Cross visits, starvations, beatings. This is their testimonies. They testify on what they suffered, including from yesterday. Sexual violence against them. Torturing. Amit Sosna said it the day before yesterday. She was released from captivity. She said they tied me up in my legs and in my hands and tied me to a tree, to a stick. They hanged me with my hands and legs tied. And who was the most vicious one and cruel one? The terrorist from the gang that surrounded her. His daughter was treated a few years ago in Israel for cancer. We took his daughter to treat her, we saved her life, his daughter's life. We saved them. His daughter. He was the most cruel one. The women that were released yesterday spoke about they had to cook for the terrorists. They had to clean, but they were not allowed to get the food that they cooked for them. So they were like slaves of them. So whoever tells you that they are a humanitarian situation, please ask him, yes? So why don't you have the Red Cross visit them? Why can't we have some kind of information? Their whereabouts. They killed in cold blood. 6 of them and many more that we don't know. Hersh Goldberg Polin, Eden Yerushalmi, Ori Danino, Alex Lobanov, Almog Sarusi, and Carmel Gat just this August. They just assassinated them. What kind of humanitarian situation they are being held? So that's just to put, I'm sorry to show you this kind of thing, but the truth should be said. And it's said also not by us, by the UN, about what happened on October 7. Now let's go to just briefly about the stages of the ceasefire. 2 weeks ago, we had this roadmap for 3 stages. First stage, as you said, Dan, 33 hostages should be back to Israel, most of them alive, in return to something like 1,900 prisoners. By the way, the prisoners, people try to say prisoners and prisoners. No. We have hostages that were kidnapped. The Israelis. The prisoners that were released are terrorists with blood, some of them blood on their hands. They are being tried and being in prison because they commit terrorism. Now we have 82 hostages still there. There is a second phase, which will start on Monday. The negotiations will start on Monday, after 16 days from the first signing of the agreement. And then there will be a third stage. You see that still there are violations by Hamas for the ceasefire. Several times they don't give the names as they were supposed to. They didn't release on time Arbel Yahud. The Bivas family is still, it's unknown, their condition, the mother and 2 children. And you saw yesterday how brutal and how dangerous it was to have our hostages back. In Khan Yunis, not securing them, threatening them, cursing them. It was very, very dangerous. It's still a violation of the agreement. So we'll have the second stage, 16 days after the completion of the first stage. We will discuss permanent ceasefire and bringing back all the live hostages and retreating of Israeli forces. And the third stage is bringing back all the bodies of our hostages and reconstruction of Gaza. Now, people are talking about the day after. Who is going to control? And I believe there will be maybe questions. I want to tell you very clear, Israel doesn't want to be in Gaza. We don't have any intentions to resettle in Gaza or have our army camps. We left Gaza unilaterally in 2006 because we want Gaza to be independent, to be a neighbor that we can work with. We open our gates for them. We try to invest But instead of taking the goodwill, the appeasement of Israel, they're reaching our hands, they made Gaza as a hub of terrorism to attack Israel, and you saw the consequences not only on October 7th, but even before. Thousands of missiles. Why? So there are some people saying, if only the occupation can end, there'll be peace. We left Gaza. This was a test. Let's work together. Let's live together, side by side. You can work. You can come work in Israel. What did we get in return? Peace? No, we got the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. Because we were opening our heart to them and leaving Gaza. We left Gaza. So whoever tells you this is the occupation, this is wrong. There is no occupation in Gaza, and there was an attack against us. And there are people that are saying, okay, let's have a Palestinian state in the West Bank. Okay, and then what? Are we going to have another October 7? Yesterday, the Hamas leader, Khaled Mashal, said the prisoners that Israel released should act again against Israel. Khalil Chaya, one of the heads of Hamas, is saying October 7 is going to be repeated and repeated and repeated because Jews cannot live in Israel and Palestine. You have to understand the ideology of Hamas is like the ISIS ideology, is the same. Just the same. They are saying we are going to destroy Israel. Jews cannot live in Israel, in the Waqf. So Hamas cannot be in control in Gaza anymore. If the day after is to have some kind of reconciliation between Israel and the Palestinian people, it cannot be ruled by a terrorist organization. It cannot be ruled by an organization that swears to kill Israelis. And they showed it. They've shown it. I call on Japan to join US, to join France and others, and to say publicly, Hamas cannot be in control in the day after. A terrorist organization should not and will not rule Gaza. Because if they do it, then their number one target will be, as they did in 2006, 2007, the Palestinian Authority. They tried to assassinate Abu Mazen a few years ago, and we saved him. After they took over Gaza, they shot the knees of Palestinian officers, Palestinian Authority officers, and then they pushed them from the roof. They killed them. On December 26, 2023, Japan put sanctions, specific sanctions, on Hamas leaders. Yahya Sinwar, Mohammed Def, Moran Issa. 22 people of Hamas were designated by Japan as terrorist organizations. This is Japan saying. There were also 5 entities, including crypto company, which was supporting, which financing Hamas. So I'm saying, and I'm suggesting that the world should say, if you want to have reconciliation and real trust between Israel and Palestinians in the future, Hamas is not the one to control Gaza and to be there. No military abilities and capabilities, and no governing of Gaza. Because if they do, if Hamas is going to be there, I don't see any future of reconciliation. I don't see any reconstructions of Gaza. I just don't see it happening if terrorist organization is controlling Gaza. It's like after World War II that the world will say, okay, maybe Nazi regime can still control Germany. No, it cannot be. The Nazi ideology should be eliminated, and the Hamas ideology should be eliminated. And if we want peace, we have to go together with people who want peace and want reconciliation and want to live side by side with Israel in peace and security. How much time do I have?
You've gone slightly over, but please,
Okay.
Take what you need.
Just saying that we want to have this ceasefire agreement continue. We want to finalize it. And we want to have stability, and we want to have peace. This is what we want. But we have to make sure that all our hostages are back, and we have to make sure that Hamas is not going to pose any threat to Israel in the future. Because they promise, we have to listen to them. They promise that they want to do October 7 again, and this, no nation can allow it to happen and to live like this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Just a couple of reminders. We are live streaming on YouTube right now, so although we have a sizable press contingent here at the FCCJ, a number of people are both watching live online, as well as the archive of today's events will also be available to watch later. We want to be absolutely clear that today is a press event. It's not an opportunity to give speeches or to kind of go off on tangents. We want all of you to have an opportunity to ask the ambassador a question, but we're going to do so in a very orderly and structured manner. Please raise your hand. I'll identify you, come up front, identify your organization, and try to limit yourself to one question. And again, no speeches. With that, let us open the floor. Yes, sir.
My name is Takuya Nishimura, freelance. Thank you very much for today. And the second part of the ceasefire deal has a permanent declaration of permanent ceasefire, permanent cessation of hostilities. So I'd like to ask you about what is the condition to keep this, to go into the second phase after the negotiation between them. And what do you think is the role of the United States in that deal? And the condition includes that the removing the Hamas from Palestine or no threat to Israel from Hamas. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question. As I said, we want to have a permanent ceasefire, but it has to have, we have to have all our hostages back. And we have to make sure that Hamas is not in control in Gaza anymore and doesn't have military capabilities. We tried to live from 2006 when we left Gaza, not to enter again Gaza, not to fight, but this policy of us failed. Hamas took advantage of it and attacked us surprisingly. So these are the conditions in order for a lasting peace. And I think we are discussing now with all relevant parties about who can control in the day after, what is the best way and the best method to be there. I can promise you that Israel doesn't want to be there, okay? But on the other hand, Hamas will not be there as well. Somebody that can guarantee our security and can guarantee, by the way, the peaceful way of the Palestinians there, the Palestinians will thrive there. This is our hope also for them. This is why there's a lot of trucks coming out inside with humanitarian situation, and also before. This is why we vaccinated the children for polio. You don't do it if you want to do like I'm being accused of horrible crimes. No. The second thing is the role of the U.S. that you asked. We are grateful for President Trump, for the envoy, Witkoff, for what they are doing. They have full commitment to have this deal being fulfilled. Again, it depends also on the Hamas. And you saw yesterday, and so every day it's kind of really intense that we see that our hostages can be secured and to go back. And we are going to stick for what we agreed to. I would like also to take this opportunity to thank the Biden administration. They were also standing by Israel, but also trying to have this solution to this war to end. So they have a crucial role. Prime Minister Netanyahu is going to be the first foreign leader to meet President Trump. He's going on Tuesday, I think, to meet him next Tuesday. And as I said, on Monday, we are going to start the talks on the second phase.
All right. If I don't see a hand, I'm going to go to one of our online viewers. It is Eiichiro Tokumoto. I think you all know, a freelance writer. Ambassador, his question is, since the Israel-Hamas war broke out, there have been several reports that anti-Semitic incidents have increased across the world, in Europe and the US. Do you think the same can be said in Japan too? And if so, are you discussing with Japanese authorities or counterparts on how to deal with this?
Thank you. Indeed, since October 7, we saw a rise in anti-Semitism, which is very disturbing. By the way, President Trump just signed yesterday a decree against students that were anti-Semitic and persecuted Jewish students in the United States. There will be measures taken against them, including even deportation from the United States. We had this phenomenon, an ugly phenomenon. I don't think that there is room for it anywhere. And I don't see in Japan phenomenon like this. I think that is. I don't think maybe there is one case too, but this is not. It's not a phenomenon, and this is a. I'm also thankful to the Japanese government for taking care of these issues that won't be in the campuses and others. This phenomenon of anti-Semitism, and also since October 7, standing by Israel. And acknowledging the right of Israel to defend itself under international law, and calling for unconditional and immediate release of all the hostages. So I take the opportunity to thank the government of Japan. Thank you.
All right. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, all the way in the back. Please identify yourself and your organization.
Thank you very much. Martina Jeffcoat, freelance media producer. I would like to know a bit more details on the ideas of Israel on reconstruction and recovery of Gaza. Particularly, I have 4 points that I just would like to ask you about. One is the public facilities that have been destroyed, hospitals, schools, and so on and so forth. The other one is orphan children. As we know, there's tens of thousands of orphan children now. What do you do with them? How do you deal with them? Another one is farmland, which is not addressed that often, like the destruction of farmland in Gaza, which will obviously be needed for the insurance of livelihood of Gazans. And then lastly, one thing was unexploded bombs, which is also an issue because there's actually thousands of bombs that are unexploded in Gaza currently. So that will also affect, obviously, the long-term future. Yes, I think for now that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Unfortunately, Hamas, the terrorist organization, used its population in Gaza as human shields. Israel had no intention whatsoever to hit civilians, people that are involved, children or women. We wanted to target only the Hamas terrorists. But the Hamas that committed double war crimes, one against Israel by firing Israel, kidnapping, murdering, and others, and second, against its own population by using them as human shields. Israel tried to avoid. We were spreading hundreds of thousands of leaflets, sending SMS messages to people that we knew that we are going to strike. Please go out of this building. Please go out to Mouassi in the south of Gaza for a safe zone because we don't want to hit you. Please go out of hospitals because Hamas put its headquarters underneath Shifa Hospital. And we've shown it to the world. Under UNRWA facilities, inside UNRWA facilities. Why? Because they wanted us to target these facilities. They wanted us to target and to kill innocent people because they wanted the international community to press Israel. That's very simple. So for them, for Hamas, as many children or people that are involved killed, both sides, the better for them. So this is an unequal war between us, Israel democracy, that tried to defend itself, and terrorist organization who violated the October 6th ceasefire and brutally attacked us. And regarding all the facilities in Gaza and the day after, we think that Gaza should be rebuilt, yes. We think that the people of Gaza should live in decent conditions without preaching for war and bloodshed and without suffering from the horrors of war. Yes, war is not a good thing. But we want Gaza to be demilitarized and de-radicalized. And all these facilities that you mentioned should be rebuilt by the international community and by all the parties involved. By the way, I call also to Japan to be involved, to be a player in the new Middle East. Listen, I believe that 2025 is going to be a dramatic, historic year. We are living in a historic year. That I believe the Abraham Accords is going to be expanded, I hope, to Saudi Arabia, to other countries, even in the Southeast Asia, Indonesia, and others. And I hope that all of us can rebuild Gaza, but in a way that Gaza will not turn into a hub of terrorism. We left Gaza in 2006 not in order to go back to Gaza, in order to turn Gaza into Singapore. But they took everything we gave them, everything that Japan gave them. You saw sacks of Japan aid inside tunnels of Hamas. You saw the flag of Japan in UNRWA facilities. How can it be possible? We give them gasoline for their hospitals and power plants. Hamas is taking the gasoline, use it in their tunnels, which they hide our hostages. So on the one hand, we try to assist, we try to give humanitarian assistance, food, medicine, vaccination, gasoline. But Hamas is looting it and turn it into, again, building its terror capabilities. And this we are not going to allow. And I hope, and I think that the international community also, headed by the United States of America, will not allow it to happen. So if we want to rebuild Gaza, we want to rebuild schools, we want to have more hospitals, industry, fields, warehouses and greenhouses. It cannot be with Hamas there. It cannot be with Hamas there. It will not be with Hamas there. They will not control Gaza if somebody thinks about the future of Gaza and the future of the people of Gaza. Thank you.
Yes. In addition to our working journalists, we also have media and communication students that are taking part today. And one of my students is here with a question for the ambassador. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Ambassador. My name is Adila Azizali. And my question will revolve around Israel's stance on self-defense. As we know, Israel has had a pretty fixed stance on its actions being protected under the precedent of self-defense. Israel has also received international criticism questioning their stance on their self-defense. What is Israel's response to the scrutinies claiming their actions are seen more as a collective punishment? Thank you.
Thank you. Israel is exercising its right to defend itself against terrorist organization. I've just shown you what they did. And what they did is what they want to do again and again. Now, there is a very good question of how can you defend yourself. So we are trying, as I said before, to exercise our right to defend itself under international law. If we wanted to have collective punishment, why did we put leaflets, or why did we send SMS to thousands of people, please leave this area, if we wanted to give a collective punishment? If you want to a collective punishment, you just destroy. You just bomb without any kind of differentiation. The problem is that, as I said before, Hamas was using them as human shields, using the population there, putting their people in dangers. As my friend Rami Emanuel, the ex-US ambassador, used to say, this is a people that try to use their weapon to defend their children. And on the other side, terrorists who use their children in order to protect their weapon. This is what they did. We tried our best, and we will continue to try our best not to hit anyone that is not involved. This is very regrettable that it happened. For us, every child dead in Gaza is a tragedy. We do not want to see any children dead or women or people that are involved. This is not our intention. But when you fight terrorism, such a cruel terrorism that is on purpose, infiltrating, building its headquarters, hiding inside hospitals and schools and UN facilities, sometimes there are problems. I want to remind you, I don't know if you know about the war that the coalition conducted against ISIS in Mosul and Raqqa. The US was leading this coalition. It was the same organizations like Hamas who killed brutally Japanese citizens. There were also casualties there, people that were uninvolved. Do you think that US wanted it? No. Do you think Japan wanted it? No. But this is what happens when you fight terrorists who hide behind human shields and try to drag you, the democracies, the members of the free world, to this vicious war and want you to be blamed for these crimes. So this is wrong. The other one, the Hamas, is the war criminal.
Sir, I'm going to take this opportunity to ask the next question and come back a bit to you. You mentioned UNRWA and how Hamas has kind of used the organization, and there seems to be a position in Israel now that UNRWA cannot be the agency that handles doling out aid and next steps. Could you clarify exactly who will do it, if not them, and how long that process will last?
Yeah, thank you, Dan. As of today, UNRWA is banned from its activities in Israel by law. This law was passed in a huge majority of 90 members of parliament from coalition and opposition alike, saying that UNRWA was infiltrated by terrorists, Hamas. It's not infiltration one or that, it is a massive one. Many of them, I showed it in a press conference, were participating in the massacre and atrocities of October 7, many of them. Their schools and their facilities were being used by terrorists. You can see a class, a room class, and just near to it, depots of weapons of Hamas. They were teaching in UNRWA, according to the curriculum of UNRWA, incitement against Israel, not preaching for peace, and anti-Israeli rhetorics, and anti-Semitic rhetorics even. So UNRWA has 16% of the aid to the Palestinians. And we are in the view that there are others that can take the responsibilities of UNRWA. For example, UNICEF, World Food Program, WFO, and others. There are many organizations that we can do it. We've warned UNRWA for years. Stop it. Just no, these are the names of the terrorists that are Hamas members inside your organization. UNRWA failed and betrayed our trust, did not report it to the Security Council, and did not dismiss or fire these terrorists. This is why we had to take this action, and we will work with other organizations, international organizations, including UN organizations, to bridge the gap that may occur with UNRWA lack of activities in the territories. By the way, I just want to remind you, Japan stopped its financing for UNRWA for a while. They renew it, but when they renew it, it was not for money, because they knew this money can go for bad causes for Hamas. It's for hygiene products, for women, for children, not to be used by men or by people that can be Hamas. So even Japan is a bit cautious about what happened in UNRWA. And you saw the legislation in the US Congress and the US decision about financing UNRWA. This is why we are working together with the relevant parties to see other solution for UNRWA.
Yes, sir. I guess we're repeating, and then we'll come back to you, ma'am. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Nishimura again. Are you confident that Iran will not attack Israel no more as long as the cease deal works? And what is your Israeli idea to deal with Iran and axis of resistance and the stability of the Middle East region? Thank you.
Thank you. I tend to call them the axis of evil or the axis of terrorism, not axis of resistance. Resist what? Democracy. The Iran, Houthis, that, by the way, abducted Japanese ship and their crew and fired on Japanese ships. Hezbollah, Hamas, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, they're all the same. They are proxies of Iran. Iran is the one to destabilize the region. So if you ask me if I trust Iran, the answer is no. Iran is behind many of the instability in the Middle East, supporting Hezbollah, using Hezbollah as the right hand. Also Hamas, Islamic Jihad. So the axis of evil and the axis of terrorism is still there. We have to be strong in order to defend ourselves. Iran should stop from their behavior. You know, people think that we have something against the Iranian people. We don't. We used to have peace with, we used to have normalization with Iran until 1979. I think the Farsi people are brave people, good people, contributed to mankind with a huge history. But the regime, their policy is what? Terrorism, produce missiles, launch their missiles, and running for nuclear bomb. And saying that Israel should be wiped out from the map of the earth. They are saying it. And they are trying to get the means to attack Israel. So we are not going to sit still and wait. We hope that it will be resolved. Prime Minister Netanyahu is coming to Washington next week. I understand, I believe that this issue of Iran will be also on the table. But I believe also that we are going to talk about how we can expand the peace agreements in the Middle East, how we can have more peace. And I want to tell you something. Israel wanted to have peace. We've shown it before. We've shown it before with Egypt. We withdrew from Sinai in peace, with Jordan, with Emirates, with Bahrain, with Morocco. We've shown it. With the Palestinians. What is Oslo agreements? Remember the 2000 understanding or in Camp David between Barak and Arafat. 2009 between Olmert and Abu Mazen. The Palestinians always said no. Always said no. They had a very good deal. Check me. Look at the history. But always they keep on complaining and complaining. You rejected everything. They rejected, you know what? The partition resolution, 29th of November, 1947, resolution 181. People are talking about UN resolutions too much. Let's talk about this resolution. Why did you reject it? The Jews were ready to have two-state solution. Israel and a Palestinian or Arab, then it was not the name. Let's do it. So instead, they attacked us, 5 armies, and the Palestinians rejected it. They never miss an opportunity, always no. Okay, so it's no. No, I cannot have peace if somebody doesn't want it. So that's my answer regarding Iran. I hope their policy is going to be changed. And you know what? It's very sad for the Iranian people, how this regime is treating them. Hanging people, chasing homosexuals, I suggest you next month to go to watch the film. He is going to be here in Japan, in Tokyo, in Japan. It's called Tatami. It's an Israeli film, but it's about Iran, about trying to be friends between Iranian and Israeli athletes, judoka, and how the Iranian regime is treating them. It's based on a true story. Go to see it. It's a good movie, by the way. Thank you.
All right. Yes, ma'am. And then we'll go to you next, sir.
Hello, thank you again. So thank you for your answer earlier about reconstruction and recovery. You mentioned that, you explained that you believe that the international community is in fact responsible for the reconstruction and recovery, including Japan. Regarding that, I was wondering, how does the international community put trust in a country, Israel, where its leader, Netanyahu, has an ICCJ arrest warrant against him? Not just Netanyahu, I think somebody else as well. And especially regarding Japan, how does Japan, as part of the ICCJ, keep diplomatic relations with a country that is under such a leader? That is one part of the question, kind of the diplomatic foreign policy. The second one is, as we all know, because media is global, there is really an extremist problem in Israel, inside the domestic population, which has brought upon a lot of hate speech from Israelis against outsiders, particularly Arabs and Palestinians. And how do you deal with that internal domestic problem at home right now? Thank you very much.
ICC resolution is false and amazingly, I don't even find the words to say, amazing. It's just a decision by the ICC against democratic elected leaders who are fighting to defend their country against terrorism is something false. Most of the free world rejected it or didn't say anything. Why? Because they understand that it cannot be. If you're being accused of war crimes, why did you give polio vaccinations? Why did you give trucks and trucks, hundreds of thousands of trucks of aid? And this is why we reject the ICC decision. By the way, there are a bill in the US Congress to confront the ICC on these decisions. Thank you. The ICC did not put a warrant against Assad, yeah? Assad killed 600,000 of his people. But ICC doesn't do anything about it. There are warrants of the ICC against the US in Afghanistan. What? Before the UK. So we reject this ICC resolution and most of the free world as well. Regarding your second question, you asked me about extremism. Of course, this time is not a good time for all of us in the Middle East. I hope that these images that I've shown you, you watched it. I hoped you watched it. Okay. So after you see this kind of images, you know it's not so easy to be friends. I hope there is no room for no hatred speech nowhere. No Islamophobia, no anti-Semitism, nothing of this kind. We reject it. I did in my residence, I think it was 3 months ago, 4 months ago, an event for all religions. Buddhism, Shinto, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, I hosted it to show and to project the values of peace and the values of reconciliation and talking between religions. I want to remind you that Israel is a democracy. We have Muslim ambassadors. We have Muslim supreme judge. We have Muslims and Christians and others working. They are free citizens and equal citizens, like Jews in Israel. And we respect them. And this is very important for us. There is no room for any hatred of any kind, based on religion, on sex, or identity. No room for it. And I've just said before, if you listened, that even the Iranian people, we don't have anything against the people of Iran. On the contrary, we would like to have peace and reconciliation, but they have to change their policy. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
My name is Hirofumi from Nikkei. Pleasure to meet you. So U.S. Trump administration has lifted the ban on the supply of bombs to Israel. So how do you evaluate this? And also, Mr. Netanyahu and President Donald Trump are going to meet at the White House on February. So what do you expect from their meeting on February? Thank you.
Thank you. We are grateful to President Trump for standing by Israel in all fronts, on ICC, on things that Israel need, on defending us, on helping the deal to have ceasefire and to secure our hostages. This equipment that we need is not in order to kill innocent people. It is coming for Israel because this is for our protection, our self-defense. And sometimes we need things in order to defend ourselves by targeting the terrorists that want to hit us. That's the only thing that we need. I believe that next week, Prime Minister Netanyahu and Trump is going to have a very important and crucial meeting. We are looking forward to it. We want, first of all, to thank President Trump and his administration for standing by us and by peace. It's not only by Israel, by peace. And also to discuss expansion of the peace process, as I said, to other areas, hopefully with the GCC states, hopefully with Saudi Arabia, we'll see. And to think about the day after in Gaza, how we can go further. And again, that's my speculations. I don't have the readout of but as far as I understand, this is what we are going to discuss, and also the Iranian threat and how we have to deal with it. I believe there'll be other US-Israeli bilateral issues that are going to be discussed. It's going to be very important. And as I said, we are honored to be the first country, the first leader in the world to be invited to the White House. Thank you.
Sir, I'm going to take a liberty of asking another question. And it does tie to President Trump, who has come out and talked about the possibility of both Egypt and Jordan taking more refugees from Gaza. Hundreds of thousands of people are returning home and so on. The respective countries, as far as I'm aware, are both objecting to that idea. What is Israel's position on this? Is it something that's going to make the situation better or worse?
I'm not going to comment on it. It's a decision. If the U.S., the president of the U.S. spoke about it, it's the U.S. to answer these questions.
All right. Okay. Anyone else? Well, let me conclude then with one question I think you can speak to, and that is Japan.
Yeah.
Obviously, you noted some roles that they've taken, things that they've done since October 2023, but now all eyes are on the kind of next stages, hopefully, of reconstruction and rehabilitation. How do you see them? Is it going to be a unilateral commitment? Is it going to be something via the United Nations? How can they be more involved in seeing recovery and resuscitation there?
I hope that all the good forces in the world will join hands in the day after in Gaza. But it has to be a very holistic approach. I don't know if it's going to be under the umbrella of the UN. We have some problems with the UN. So what, UNIFIL and others and UNRWA, so we'll see. I'm not sure, but we'll see. But I think the peace-loving countries should work together in order to find a solution to the situation in Gaza. We have to work and to see how we can do it, or maybe to divide some fronts, who's doing what. I do see Japan joining it. I think Japan has a very positive role. I want to remind you the corridor, the peace corridor in Jericho of Japan, and I think that Japan should work together with us and other people that want peace. And what is important also, the demilitarization of Gaza, I spoke about it. It's not that let's say we are building a factory again. But we want to make sure that this factory is producing good things for tractors, for trucks, for good things. They're not producing weapons or material for bombs. This is what we cannot trust, why we cannot trust Hamas. It has to be under a regime or under a rule there, or under governing authority there that will be committed to peace and really reconstruct Gaza in a good way, in a positive way, in a way that in the future they will have good future, prosperity, decency. This is what we want for the people of Gaza. It cannot be with Hamas in power. It cannot be with Islamic Jihad there. It cannot be with using weapons against us. This will not last. This will not hold. It may hold if we build it for a few years, and then what? And then if they are going to rearm, and we understand that Hamas is going to retake everything and rebuild its forces in order to attack against Israel, so what have we done? It's going to be a waste of time and money. Let's build on a culture of peace. I want the Palestinians, I would like the Palestinian children to be taught the same way as Israelis are being taught. I was a student, my children, we are being taught that Israel wants to reach its hands for its Arab neighbors for peace. It's written in our Declaration of Independence in 1948. Teach your children for peace, and then we can live together. We can hope for the future. And if I can summarize, I think Japan has a positive role. We will be happy or grateful to see them there in order to build together a new reality of peace and security.
Thank you very much. It is our club tradition always for our speakers that we offer them a one-year honorary membership. We look forward to seeing you again. We thank you very much for making time for us in such short notice. Thank you again,
so
sir.
much. Thank you.